Hey viewers and viewers, my name is General Red Strategist and welcome to the long-awaited, anticipated, utterly expected Surrey Being Hunted episode 500 Q&A!
Oh my good gracious God, can you believe it? 500 episodes. That
Crazy.
Is outrageous.
You never thought back in 2013, that I would still be doing this game now. Well, I certainly
No, because it's like one of those sort of games that you'd like do a normal playthrough and then leave it at that and then go on. But
indeed.
You managed to get out challenges, all sorts of interesting challenges.
Yeah.
To be honest, the other day I was actually watching one of your very early episodes, I think like episode 23.
All right.
Where you were, it was funny because you were basically explaining, at that point you didn't know how the log fires worked.
The log fires. Yeah.
So you were explaining, I was watching episode 23 and going, right, how does this work? And you started reading the instructions that popped up.
Indeed.
So that was funny to see that. And now look what's happened. Not only have you done challenges, but there's been loads of podcast things. And basically, me and you on your own have talked about nearly everything under the sun.
Pretty much, yes, indeed. Well, we're going to talk about some more stuff under the sun, Phil, in this here episode. We've got plenty of questions to get through.
We like Q&As at these 100 gaps, don't we?
Yeah, we do. So, Phil, I think we'll just throw ourselves right in because we've got a lot of them.
Yeah, let's start.
Yeah. Now,
oh, yes. Before we do start, did we get a good selection?
We did, yeah. I mean, some of them might be similar to ones we've had before, but there are other ones which are quite unique. So, yeah, I've started off with some of the shorter ones first, and then we'll get to some more substantial ones.
400 one.
Yeah. So, first question comes from Loffy, and it's a very simple one. What's your favourite colour, Phil? What's your favourite colour? That's it. Yeah.
Well, now, back in the past, I used to say black.
Right.
But obviously, I've now found that black is not actually a colour.
No.
It's classed as a shade, as is grey and white. So, on that basis, I remember that time when we did the questions of. Do you remember when I brought a load of questions like, what's your favourite stormy weather or what's your favourite thing? One of those was what's your favourite colour, and at that time I picked blue, and it still is blue. I would say, yeah. I do like blue. It's nice. It's supposed to be blue along with green. It's supposed to be that sort of calming colour, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. I mean, the thing is, blue is my favourite colour as well, even though I'm General Red. I've said this actually, I think, in my original Stanley Parable playthrough. It was like a famous moment with the red and blue doors where I stood before them.
Oh, yes, I remember that.
Indeed. So, yeah, blue.
Yeah, blue. Blue is definitely the colour for me as well. It's very, and I like the nice calming, and it makes you think of nice things like the beach, the sea, the waves. Oh, it makes you think of a nice
blue
beach
skies.
holiday.
Yes.
Blue skies, yeah, perfect.
Plus, I also like blue because there's lots of different shades of it, and some of them are very nice.
Oh God, there is, isn't there? There's a lot of it. Apparently, I think the colour with the most shades is actually green. I think apparently there's 70 shades of green.
Wow.
So I've heard. As we all know, there's 50 shades of grey.
50 shades of grey, yes. All involving whips, paddles, and handcuffs, and God knows what else.
That's a bit of sadomasochism.
Sadomasochism. Yeah. Indeed.
Have you ever noticed, here's a little thing that you've noticed, have you noticed that fast food restaurants always seem to adopt the colour of red and yellow? Have you noticed that?
That's true. McDonald's, Burger King, KFC. Yeah.
There is a reason behind that.
Right.
The reason is that the red and yellow colouring incite hunger in people.
Okay, yeah.
Yes, it's been found that red and yellow are the two colours that incite hunger in people. Yeah. So that's why fast food restaurants go with that red and yellow colour scheme.
Yeah.
Because people come up and see it and go, oh, I could do with a burger. And they go in and buy from.
Yeah.
Yeah, they go in and buy from it. And that's why they use red and yellow. And also another little fact about fast food restaurants, their seating is designed to be quite uncomfortable. So you just eat and then leave, or you go and buy something else.
Yeah. So it keeps like high turnover. Yeah. Indeed. Yeah, maybe it's understandable. There's always that kind of science really of like colours and how they sort of affect the way people think. It's like I remember in school, like for example, like posters with like educational materials on walls, they'd always do in like bright colours to like engage your attention, things like that. Whereas if you just put things in like very neutral, like white colours, things like that, it's that thing of like not being very eye-catching. So it's like that the use of colour to get people to do certain things, ladies and gentlemen. There you go. That was a nice little digression.
That's what it is.
Yeah.
That's what happens in the fast food restaurants. They do that a lot just to keep you hungry and make the seats uncomfortable. So you basically leave and they can get more people through the door to sit down.
Yeah.
more money. Yeah, clever little tactics there, really.
Good little tic-tacs indeed,
And
yes.
Luther was his name. Was that the guy's name?
Sorry, say again?
The person who gave us the question.
Oh, that was Loffy, yeah, Loffy.
Loffy, sorry, Loffy. Why don't you answer as well? What's your favourite colour, Loffy?
Indeed, yes. Tell us in the
well.
comments below, we need to know, yes. You have 48 hours to comply.
What about the opposite end of the spectrum?
Oh, like least favourite? What would be my least favourite? Probably brown, something like that. Because it's a bit of a dull, boring kind of colour.
Murky colour, isn't it?
Yeah, indeed.
Makes you think of sludge.
Sludge, yes, indeed. Yeah.
What would I say? I'm not a major fan of like pink and purple, really.
Pink and purple? Yeah.
Purple's alright. Probably like purple a bit more than pink, but yeah.
Indeed, yeah. I don't mind pink and purple, they're alright. Yeah, like I say, brown for me, because I always associate brown with like friggin' 70s fashion styles, where it's like brown and orange. It's just like, oh god. How did anyone like that sort of thing?
And was it also the colour of?
Well, it's the colour of a... well, I was going to use the term excrement, Philip.
Excrement, yes, as well.
A bit of the...
and lots of unhealthy food are very beige and brown coloured, aren't they?
True.
If you go into a McDonald's or a Burger King, just look at how much of the stuff is, brown.
Yeah, indeed, yeah. Okay, well, that's on colour, in answer to Loffy's question. We went off on a good one there. Okay, next question comes from Lawrence Neville. This might be a quick one, this. What I really want to know is, he says, when is Sir You're Being Hunted Reinvented Edition coming out? Do you have any knowledge? At one point there was an early 2022 release date. Now the Steam page just says sometime in 2022. Well, unfortunately, Lawrence, I don't really have any more information on that than you do. I should probably contact the dev, actually. I should probably contact Arn.
Well, I think he might have asked you because someone happens to be in Den of Thieves' pockets.
I know. I wonder who that could possibly be.
Well, hiding in there.
Yes,
hiding in there,
indeed. Yeah, I'll have to ask her and just see. I'd imagine it's probably just because they put it back, just because they need more time to work on certain aspects of it. And to be honest, I mean, I'd probably rather that they delay it and take more time just to polish it.
Oh God, yes. Because look what happened to Cyberpunk and all things like that,
Indeed,
and
yes.
Duke Nukem Forever. Yeah, it's good that if you held back because you feel that it's not quite got to the standards that you want.
Yeah.
It's good that they're considering that and then actually going to it and going back and probably implementing. Maybe they've had some more features or they've actually come across some bugs.
Could be.
That they need to sort out.
Yeah, could be just implementation of certain things is taking a bit longer than anticipated and whatever else have you, which, it happens with games. But like I say, yeah, I mean, it's never great when you have to obviously delay something just to give it a bit more time, but usually, I don't know, then you end up with a slightly more polished product, so there might be a silver lining to it. But that's all I can really say to that one, Lawrence Neville.
Hopefully they introduce some new sort of features as well.
Yeah, I think there are going to be some, yeah. I can't remember exactly what they were, but I'm pretty sure there are new features. Man, I should have actually checked that before I started recording, but yes. Well,
yeah, never mind. Features, but they'll probably do them out in due course, they'll probably come out in steps and stages, like most people who deal with the products like that.
Yeah, indeed. Sure, more information will come out closer to when Den of Thieves eventually have their sort of release date in mind and all that, so look forward to that, folks. But yeah, that's all we can really say on that one. So, next question, unless you've got anything else you want to say on that matter, Phil?
No, but I just hope I wish Den of Thieves all the best.
Yeah.
Because I know that it's good that they're revitalising it because there's obviously a bit. It was. I must admit, Saving Hunter was growing a bit stagnant.
Yeah. Old game and all that. Yeah, it needs something new to revitalise
so it's good that they took over. And it was interesting to watch the dev stream that you did with them.
Yeah.
Along with the speedrunner.
Yeah. It's good.
It's interesting to see all the different things that are going to be implemented, and it's finally time to breathe some new life into Saving Hunted.
Yeah, indeed. All right, on to question numero 3, Phil.
Okay.
Which was a bit of a mix of languages that I just did then, but I don't really speak languages all that much very well. Not even English, Phil. Anyway, I know, yeah. Right, come on, question. This one comes from Luke Kelly. Any more low-budget shooters you plan on playing? Also, are there any games coming out soon that you'd like to play? I'll start off with
shooters.
Low budget shooters side of things. I do have a couple actually of shooters in my Steam library which would probably count. Well, I say probably, but which would count as low budget shooters, which I would like to play on the channel at some point. Both of them actually 2003 games. I remember playing the demos of back in the day when I was a teenager from PC Gamer magazine demo discs, but I never actually played the full versions of them. So the first one is a game called The Stalin Subway. Don't know if you've heard of that one, Phil.
Oh God, you've talked about that a few times.
I have talked about that.
Various episodes. Yeah, The Stalin Subway. That apparently I remember from that episode. It was supposed to be really buggy.
Yeah, so you need like a patch in order to play it. So if I was to play that one, I'd probably have to patch it to get it to actually work properly. But the thing about it is, it's, from what I understand, it's one of those kind of like early 2000s sort of Eastern European kind of FPS games, which is janky as hell, but has kind of a bit of charm to it in its own sort of weird way. But apparently, you just need to make sure you have the patch installed, otherwise it can be...
Like with Call of Cthulhu Dark Corners of the Earth. The patch for the famous light that was like a million miles away and sometimes didn't work.
Indeed, yes.
When you're on the boat section.
Yeah, that's the one. So, that's a game that I would be interested in playing at some point on the channel. The other one is also another 2003 shooter, which again, I played the demo of from a demo disc back in the day when I was a teenager. It was called Chaser. You heard of that one, Phil?
Chaser. Now that, yes, but I can't. I've heard of the name, but I don't really know what the concept and everything about it. You'll have to just go over that with us.
Yeah. So whereas the Stalin Subway, I think, is set in like 1950s, like 1952 or whatever it is. Chaser, I think, is sort of like set in sort of near future.
8 o'clock.
8 o'clock. Yeah. It's set near future. Kind of. It's a bit like cyberpunk, I think, from what I remember of it.
Cyberpunk element.
Yeah, but basically it's a shooter, and from the Steam reviews, from what I've seen, it says it's a perfectly sort of functional, decent enough kind of shooter. So yeah, that'd be something I'd be interested in playing as well. In terms of low budget shooters and all that, I can still sort of picture bits of the demo of it back in the day in my head. So yeah, I would love to play that one as well. I'm sure it'd be fantastic.
I've got a suggestion for you.
Yeah, go ahead.
I don't know if it's low. It probably wouldn't have been low budget at the time, but it's probably cheaper now. The original Call of Duty.
Original Call of Duty. Funny you should say that. I have got that in my Steam library.
You have got it in the Steam library already. Yeah, see, that would be an interesting one. See what you feel. What brought the big? Obviously, it's the big giant of FPS now.
Indeed, it is.
But how it started and what brought it into the forefront of the FPS world.
Indeed. Yeah, so I would like to play that one. I actually don't just have the first Call of Duty. I also have Call of Duty United Offensive, which is the expansion, I think, to the original.
Oh, an expansion. Maybe even the first Battlefield.
Maybe,
That would be interesting. I think I can't remember. Was it just called Battlefield, or was it the 1942?
I can't remember.
I know there's Battlefield 1942. I don't know if that's the first one or there's one before that.
Yeah, I know. I'm kind of overdue a World War II FPS on my channel at this point, because I know people like to see them every so often. So who knows? Maybe sometime in the not too distant future we'll get onto some of that. So I've got Call of Duty, I've got United Offensive, I do have Call of Duty 2 as well, I think.
Okay.
And I've also got a few of the Sniper Elite games.
Oh god, they're so funny. Yeah, the fact that the thing that appeals to them is obviously the X-ray sort of vision.
Yeah.
Where you can basically shoot into someone's testicles.
Yes. So those aren't so much games that are coming out soon. Yeah, they're games that are already out. But I mean, they are games that I would like to play on the channel at some point. So I hope that sort of answers your question there, Luke Kelly. What about you, Phil? Any games coming out soon that you'd be interested in playing?
Do you mean with regards to low budget shooters?
No,
general?
Just in general.
What games have we got coming out? Because I've looked at there was a Game Ranks video that I watched, which was top new games for September, and there were some interesting ones on there actually that I liked the look of. I'm trying to remember some. Oh god, what were they on there? There's some good little ones and some sort of like 2D pixel arty type games as well on there that were really intriguing. But I know that one that you've just put into your wish list, which you definitely need to give a whirl, because I've been watching a few video walkthroughs. I mean, that's the Forgotten City.
Oh yes, I do have that on Steam.
Yeah.
Well, I think I might have bought that actually. I might
did you buy that in the end?
I think I did.
You said you were going to put it on your wish list. You put it on your wish list, but
yeah, I think it went on offer at one point on Steam, so I bought it for a cheap price.
It's honestly really quite the storyline and the plot is extremely intriguing.
Yeah,
you'll find it quite good. It's definitely worth a play.
Also, another game that you suggested to me, which went on offer recently, so I bought it.
Yes.
What Remains of Edith Finch?
God, yes, yeah. I would mention that. That's another sort of walking simulator style, like Everybody's Gone to the Rapture and Gone Home and all those. But yeah, apparently it's supposed to be really, really good as well.
Yeah. I don't actually know. Is it only a short game, What Remains of Edith Finch? Because I always thought it was like a longer one, but I've seen, I don't know, from some of the Steam reviews, people say it's actually not that long.
I think, if I'm not mistaken, it's longer than the sort of Gone Home one, but it's not like super duper long.
Okay, yeah. That could be a good one to play then. Because you know me, sometimes I like my sort of shorter, sweeter kind of games.
Once you get some time available.
Yeah, that could probably be a good one to play. So yeah, there you go. We answered a bit of Luke Kelly's questions there. So
hopefully Luke Kelly, that was interesting for you.
Yeah, indeed. But of course, you know, I have a mountain of games that I want to play on the channel at some point. So actually, you know, still on the shooter subject, actually, before we just move away from that, I don't know if this is a low budget one, but one that I do have again in my Steam library. I got it once when it was on offer. I want to play it. Terminator Resistance.
A Terminator game. That's interesting.
An FPS, which apparently is supposed to be pretty decent.
Is it? Okay.
Yeah.
Because sometimes, like movies based off video games based off movies can be be sometimes a bit naff.
Yeah.
Although there are ones like the superhero games which are apparently really good. I know that Batman and Spider-Man are supposed to be really good.
Yeah. Terminator Resistance, from what I understand, basically, what Steam reviews seem to say, if you're basically a fan of the original 2 Terminator movies, then it's worth playing it because you'll probably enjoy it. So I thought, yeah, that's a shooter that I'd definitely like to play. Then just give it a whirl. Apparently, it's a bit of like a slow burner at first. It takes a couple of hours to really sort of get going, but once it gets going, it gets quite good apparently. So something worth me probably taking a look at there. But yeah, that's just something else I just wanted to get in quick. And
that was an interesting point there.
Yeah, and there's a DLC campaign you can buy for it as well. But so, you know, if I enjoy the base game, maybe I'll give that a whirl too. So yeah, there you go. That's Luke Kelly's questions answered.
Thank you, Luke.
Yeah, I think we'll go on to the next one. So, next question, number 4. YouTube Creators asks, what's your favourite Rayman game? Well, YouTube Creators, for me, that would be Rayman 3.
Rayman 3. Now, I know you do a big explanation in... there is a So You're Being Hunted episode called On Rayman.
Yeah.
And that's where you basically go through... I think On Rayman and Class of 2003.
Yes.
You basically explain in those 2 videos your love for Rayman 3 and why you like it. More so in the On Rayman one, which gives you an explanation of why you liked it more than Rayman 2.
Yeah, indeed, yeah. I mean, just to kind of summarise very, very quickly without kind of going into too much detail, although Rayman 3 is not a perfect game, I did still enjoy it because there was plenty of things in there that did appeal to me. I just like some of like the aesthetics of all the like the different levels that you go to. I also really liked the fact there was more of an emphasis on combat, and the combat mechanics were a bit more sort of fleshed out than they were in Rayman 2. Because that's the thing about Rayman 2. I can see why Rayman 2 was popular in its day, but it's a game which hasn't aged greatly. Obviously, its graphics are very dated now.
Rayman 3 sort of expanded on it.
Yeah,
as well.
yeah.
I get it as well, I think, for my Xbox.
Yeah. You did, actually, yeah.
But that's my favourite's Rayman Raving Rabbids.
Raving Rabbids. No. Dearie me, you're always going to trigger...
No, I did enjoy Rayman 3 myself as well. And Rayman M, I always loved, coming around. It's like the sort of little sort of split screen one. It was really enjoyable just doing the arena ones where you could just battle each other, especially the funniness of where you could get someone with the famous glue bombs.
Oh yeah.
Someone could have like 5 of them on them.
Do you ever play glue bomb only matches on Rayman M?
Oh god, there was those as well.
Yeah, you could do that where you could set it just to a certain weapon that only spawns, and you could put just glue bombs and then it just becomes chaos.
God, it was so funny that. It was so funny because someone could have like 5 glue bombs on them.
Indeed.
And it was so funny. It was a cracker of a game, that.
Yeah.
And
shame that it's never been released that on GOG or anything.
Yeah, no, we wanted to give it a go at one point.
The only way you can get it, I think, is to get a second-hand copy of it off eBay or something, which is really unfortunate. It's the sort of forgotten Rayman game, I think, Rayman M. People sort of forget that it existed.
But YouTube creators, you should definitely have a look at that episode, the on Rayman M.
Yeah.
Not on Rayman M. Well, you can have a look on Rayman M because you talked about that one.
Yeah, I
but
did.
On Rayman and Class of 2003.
Yeah.
Which gives a good explanation. And I know you also said you wanted to give Rayman 1 a go.
Yes, I do have Rayman 1. I think I have it. Do I have it on Steam or GOG? One or the other. But apparently Rayman 1 actually is quite difficult. It's quite a tough game, apparently, from what I understand. Apparently there's a story about Rayman 1, and I don't know if it's true, but I don't know. I mean, wherever I've seen it repeated, it seems that people repeat it as though it's true. Apparently, Ubi, when they created Rayman 1, they never actually play-tested it, hence why it's so difficult, apparently.
That's a bit silly. Surely, as developers, you need to be testing your own games to make sure they work.
Absolutely, you'd think so, but I don't know. Maybe that story's true, maybe it's not, and I'm not sure. It's one of those things which you see it on the internet, and it's like, is that verified? Is that actually a thing? Was that actually a thing, rather? Or is that something that people just say? And just they've like repeated it so many times now that they just sort of accept it to be true. Who knows? Maybe someone can clarify that in the comments.
And of course, you're doing a bit of Rayman Origins as well.
Yeah. Well, actually, I've just completed Rayman Origins.
Completed. I assume might be doing Legends next.
Possibly. I'd have to buy it first, but.
I thought you already had that.
No, okay. I don't. No, I don't have Legends, unfortunately. But who knows? It's definitely a game that. Well, if it's on Steam, I should probably put it on my wish list because it'd probably be quite interesting to play. Well, yeah, there you go, YouTube creators. We talked a little bit about Rayman for you right there, so hope you find that an illuminating answer. And yes, check out those other episodes, like Phil said, if you want a real kind of big sort of breakdown. Well, my sort of bigger sort of breakdown on Rayman games and why Rayman 3 is my favourite and all that.
Yeah, I think there's 3 you can have a look at. There's the Class of 2003. That's where we talk about Rayman and among the other games. There's on Rayman, and there's also on Rayman M.
Yeah, those uns. Alright, on to the next question, Phil. Or I should say, next 3 set of questions, because this next commenter left 3 for us to get through.
Okay, well, let's do it
So,
individually,
this
one by
comes
one,
from Cthulhu Chris, who says, Hi, Red and Phil, hail from Australia. I should put Australia next. G'day, mates. I've been a very long-time viewer of the channel, and I must say, enjoy every fucking video that I managed to catch, or series that I can binge. He didn't actually say fucking video, he just said every video. I don't know why I inserted that. I can binge watch. Keep up the good work. Anyway, here are some questions for the 500th video of Sir. It'd be interesting for both of you to answer them if you want to, that is. So, question 1.
Right.
If both of you had the opportunity to add a totally new robot or variant of one to Sir, what would the robot look like and what would it do? That's interesting.
Shit.
Yeah.
Oh shit, that is a question.
Now, that's one that's going to get our imagination juices flowing, Phil. That's a good one,
Yeah.
Matt. I like that. I mean, I've had sort of thoughts before about, kind of robots you could do. I don't know if I might have talked about ideas before on a past Sir episode, but I can't remember. But possible ideas. Obviously, you want sort of robots that have perhaps sort of unique mechanics of their own, so that they're very sort of distinct from one another. And one thing I sometimes wondered maybe you could have, because obviously, like with these rural biomes, the way they sort of generate, I think you have like several villages that are usually all connected by roads. I was wondering if you could have.
I think I know where you're going. We've talked about this
I
before.
think we have, yeah. So my idea was like sort of like a neutral robot who you can sort of use to like ferry you between villages without being seen or something. So like kind of like maybe like a robot who's like driving a little cart or something.
Yeah,
and you can like hide in the back of it.
On the road. That would be very useful.
Yeah,
give it
something
sort of
like
mode
that.
Of transport there.
I think that would particularly work though if maybe like the maps were even bigger as well, and you had like more villages, and that could be something that would be very helpful. I think, in particularly like the late game when you have things like riders and things spawning who are quite nasty in terms of A, they're very tough, and B, they tend to patrol over quite wide areas. So yeah, that would be quite interesting. That's a possibility. Like I say, it would probably be a robot with maybe like a little robo horse, just like driving a little cart full of bric-a-brac. I think like maybe in terms of his behaviour, like you could implement an item where you have to pay him, and he'll hide you and carry you around. And if you don't pay him, then he turns aggressive on you or something.
Turns aggressive on you. That's clever.
Yeah,
that's clever. I like it. I had an idea as well. A class called the Inventor.
The Inventor.
So basically, what he would do is he would sit there tinkering, and he would be the one who actually invents and creates the hounds.
Oh, okay, yeah.
So sits there making them. And then after a while, he finishes to complete them and then sends them out after you. No, his behavioural trait will be immediately hostile.
Yeah.
So as soon as he sees you, he'll set them on you and start building more and more. And
I wonder if, to say, like, for the name for that one, instead of Inventor, you could go in like Dog Trainer or something, or Dog.
You could have the Dog Trainer, yeah, and
like
then
that.
you'd have to. It would keep making them, and you'd have to kill him, or you'd have to destroy his like table or whatever, so they don't keep spawning.
It's like a little machine or something, like a little thing that he spawns them out of.
You could have a mode in the game. You could have a mode in the game whereby you have to find him because you keep creating the dogs, and eventually they'll basically take over the whole island.
All right.
Because you just keep creating them, and you have to find him to try and stop it because they just keep spawning.
Interesting. Yeah. So maybe you could, like, rather than having like a specific little table or machine, you could have like a mobile sort of thing where he drives around or something to different points.
Something like that. And he keeps sending them out and out until eventually the island becomes overflowing with the dogs, and then it becomes too difficult to carry on. Because they're just everywhere. So you have to try and get to him before he starts filling up the whole island with his dogs.
Indeed, yeah. That sounds like it could be quite interesting, yeah. I think you could sort of like maybe fuse that with like the cart idea. He has like a little cart that he drives around.
That.
And that has the machine on it that releases the dogs or something like that. So yeah, there's some interesting thoughts there.
What about someone who can... because if there's something for more air stuff, maybe have like a flyer who rides a biplane.
That's an
around.
Idea.
You can get a special. You have to try and find a special weapon to take him down. Maybe sort of steampunk like anti-aircraft gun.
Something like that.
And you can only take it down with that. It's invincible any other way.
Or like an elephant gun type of thing, like one of those big sort of like heavy bore weapons that can punch a hole in his aircraft or something. Something like that.
It's a new concept. Why don't you have a new one where you have a landowner who's actually not invincible?
Oh, okay.
But does have and serves as like a sort of boss fight.
Possibly, yeah. That reminds me actually, sort of on that same theme of like a plane or a balloon that sort of like hovers and goes up the island. I think again this is one I've mentioned before, but instead like a narrow boat with a robot on it that circles around the perimeter of the island, sails
more
around.
Water stuff, I would say. More water and air stuff.
Yeah, because I think the thing is. Because the thing about the jetties, for example, is the jetties are usually quite a safe location, sir. If you're being chased, you can just go onto them, and the robots can't path onto them and follow you.
Yeah, they can't path onto them at all.
And they can't really like get you whilst you're on there unless they're very close to the coastline. So I think like having maybe like a little narrowboat with like a robot with a rifle or something stationed on it who just like goes in a circle means you have to like pick your moments when you go on the jetties a bit more carefully. Otherwise, he can shoot you whilst you're on the jetty. So
there's got some interesting ideas there, for diverse robot designs.
Indeed.
I think they would suit the sort of environment really well.
Yeah, because that's the thing. You've got to like think carefully about what the robots are going to be like, how they're going to act, because you don't want something like this kind of maybe like pushing the theme of the game a bit sort of too pushing a bit too far away from the game's theme and all that of like sort of hunters and hunted and things like that. So but I'm sure there's all kinds of interesting ideas you could come up with.
What about, I've just had another thought actually, which is interesting. What about having a robot who's actually friendly? And what happens if you have when you're on a game, there's sort of like a time limit that determines how long you've been and assesses whether you're struggling, like you're finding it really difficult to find a device piece or something, and then you have like a friendly robot who like guides you or sends out like a sound or something that notifies you where the nearest device piece is because you're struggling, which happen after a while.
Yeah, actually, I was thinking of interesting variation you could have on that would be like a robot who normally is kind of neutral and just doesn't really do anything. But you know how, like with the Carter idea I mentioned before, like if you pay him, his behaviour changes. Like you can implement an item again, like a payment item, and if you give this neutral robot an item, he will sort of follow you around, and you can direct him perhaps to like distract other robots and send them off in other directions away from you if they're getting too close.
A distraction, you could go up and you could like loot buildings a bit better. So you could use it for like the squire. You're trying to find a building, you could talk
distract
to
the squire.
And take him.
So then you can raid buildings without being seen. or triggering the squire and all that. You see, there's plenty of ideas there. So it's interesting, because Cthulhu Chris's second question actually kind of very much follows on from this. When Sir Reinvented Edition comes out at some point, hopefully in this year, according to the Steam page at least, what would you like to see changed/tweaked or possibly added to the new game? I mean, we've just gone through a lot of...
we have talked about this a few times in previous Q&A videos, what we'd like to see in the game, what new things we'd like to implement.
Yeah, I mean, I've mentioned things like, maybe some new biomes or something, which I think possibly there might be one or two coming in Reinvented Edition, or at least, sort of variations on existing biomes anyway, so that might be something to look forward to. But yeah, I always thought as well, like, maybe sort of adding more things into, for example, like the open countryside spaces that generate on the islands to,
that's
add things that you can interact with, like maybe
like
bushes that you can forage berries and things from, or other things just to help with survival, things like that. Because I feel like that's something you could really add to a game like this, like bramble bushes or something you get blackberries from.
My idea that I stated, I think it was, I don't know if it was the 400th or 300th episode, was maybe have the option to, when you go and loot stuff out of the houses, the door actually opens, or you can actually go in. And then the items will be like on shelves or in chests and everything, and then you can pick them up.
It's the classic thing with obviously, like, Big Robot back in the day, they didn't want to implement interiors just because it would have been technically complicated, but I'm curious, with obviously that was several years ago now, but and with more modern technology
what could be done there.
what could be done in that regard,
and maybe have some more use, like you've said a few times, for the junk items.
That too.
What could be implemented with them? Do some more features with them.
Maybe
bring in some new weaponry.
Possibly.
That's nice to know.
Like with the junk items, for example, like some of them you don't necessarily need to do anything special with them. You could just have them similar to things like the bottles, things that you can throw, things like that to distract robots, but something that basically you can just do with them, otherwise they just sort of fill up the inventory spaces, don't really serve a purpose. But that was question 2 there, Cthulhu Chris. And his final question number 3. Do you have any more games in mind to co-commentate/record together in the future at all? 3 games even spring to my mind: Control, A Short Hike, and Outer Wilds. But I'd be intrigued to hear any games you both might be thinking of.
Those 3 are interesting. Well, we've if you have a look at our various different episodes on the channel, there's loads of games where we co-commentate together. That sort of thing. If you look at the playlist, there's The Forest, there's Stranded Deep, there's big games like Wolfenstein 2 and Tomb Raider.
Absolutely.
We have done quite a fair few.
Well, those 3 suggestions, I mean, I've heard of them. I don't really know anything about them, so I'll have to check them out, see if they're on Steam or whatever, and see if they maybe would be something I'd be interested in. Because that's the thing, I get so many suggestions from viewers, and I always try where possible to try and play things that viewers have suggested, and whatever else have you.
Control is quite an interesting little game. It's based off it's supposed to be set in the sort of same world as Alan Wake.
All right,
as well in that one. And the Outer Wilds I've heard many good things about. And there A Short Hike. I haven't really heard of that one, but it sounds interesting.
Again, I'll have to check it out. So I'll have to take a look at it and see what it's all about. But I mean, in terms of co-commentating games and all that, me and you, well, we've got so many games on our wheel, which we'll pick out, so there'll be plenty of those. We need to do more Sakura Beach at some point, Phil. That's obviously next for our next recording session.
We've got quite a few that we do. But we have so many games that we have co-commented. But if you ever look at the channel, you'll see all sorts of various different games that me and him together, me and Andrew together.
Indeed. But there you go, Cthulhu Chris. Hope that's sort of answered your questions there, or at least given you an indication. And thanks for the 3 game suggestions. I'll definitely have a look into those.
Have a little check, see what they're about.
See if there's anything there that I might be interested in. That'd be fantastic. But yeah, if I do decide to play them, I don't know when. I'll play them. I'll get them at some point.
You've got quite a few games on the go already, haven't you?
Yeah, indeed. Get off my face. Weird random gravestone inscription there, but indeed. Well, right, so next questions come from TK. 3 more from this person. So we'll go through each of those one by one. They're all on kind of similar themes, though. So, number 1, which movie and game do you think truly deserves a sequel, and why? I mean, obviously me and you are not so much movie people, so I'd have to probably really rack my brains about that one, but I can definitely think of a game that I think deserves a sequel, Phil. Begins with B. Well, actually, it's 4 words. Each word, I'll give you the first letters of each word. Yes, there you go. Didn't even have to.
Yeah, well, obviously the sequel is
technically
that doesn't really answer the question, because which deserves a sequel. There is a sequel ongoing, because Ubisoft have confirmed it, but it's just stuck at the moment in development hell, it seems.
Yeah, but it doesn't change the answer though. I think Beyond Good and Evil, even if the sequel is currently in development hell, I still think it deserves a sequel, the original one.
Oh God, yes. I don't know what's happening with it at the moment. It's just they've gone really quiet on it.
Yeah, they have.
No one knows what exactly is going on. But yeah, Beyond Good and Evil 2, it did look good from the screenshots, and there's some gameplay trailers as well, and it really, the new sort of style is very interesting as well. But it'd be good to see, because the first game was a cracker.
Yeah, it was indeed. But it's just a shame that we're not hearing anything about it, which kind of just makes my heart kind of sink a little bit, because now I'm steeling myself in case, unfortunately, it gets to that point again where it's just like there's been no news, it's not coming out. But who knows? You never know. Maybe we should maintain a bit of faith. I don't know.
Bit of faith.
Yes.
I'm just trying to think what game I would like to see a sequel of. Just thinking which games have I really enjoyed. I mean, well, I know that one of my favourites, Grand Theft Auto 5, and I know Rockstar probably already in production of Grand Theft Auto 6, so I definitely will want to see how that goes as well, and see where we get from that. Because I really enjoy it. I would say as well, Wolfenstein. I would like to see if there's going to be like Wolfenstein 3.
Yeah, that would be good, wouldn't it?
That would be really good to see. I bet that'd be a nice sequel, because I'm going to say the Young Blood wasn't the best, and it was classed as not a very good game at all by many different gaming outlets and gaming various.
I do want to play more of that at some point, because I only did the one video on it that one time, just for the hell of it, as a one-off
the gaming
video.
channels that I watched, specifically like Game Ranks and What Culture Gaming and Watch Mojo and things like Outside Xbox, they do all say that the Young Blood isn't the best. And they did that Cyber Pilot, didn't they? But that was for VR.
VR game, which was an interesting one. But yeah, I think Wolfenstein 3 would be a good call, indeed, since the New Order and then the New Colossus did really, really well.
Those updates on the Old Blood, they did really well.
Indeed,
they did fantastic.
Yeah. So that's games. I'm still trying to think movies though.
Movies, yes. Which movie needs a sequel?
What sequel? Trying to think. Because again, it's like problem is because obviously again, me and you are not big movie people.
No, I haven't watched a lot of films in that time. What about? Would you ever like to see? I don't know where it would go from there. Just seeing like a sequel to Sucker Punch.
Sequel to Sucker Punch, maybe. If Emily Browning was to come back in that outfit of hers, dearie me. Maybe, yeah, but like you say, I don't know where they go with it.
What about Pirates of the Caribbean?
Pirates of the Caribbean, God.
As if you haven't done enough sequels for that already.
Yeah, we're just going to spitball and throw out random movies here and think, would they deserve? Should there be another sequel in that franchise? Actually, a film I did watch recently. This is going a bit off topic. I watched No Time to Die, Daniel Craig's last Bond film.
Oh, have you watched that? I haven't seen that. No.
Yeah, indeed. So they gave Daniel Craig a bit of a send-off at the end. Now, I won't spoil it for you, Phil. But needless to say, it'll be interesting. I think if and when they produce another Bond film, I have a feeling it's going to be like a complete sort of reboot, its own sort of story and all that.
Right.
Yeah.
That'll be interesting. I need to give No Time to Die another another go.
Yeah.
Well, to have a word or talk, because I've not watched it at all.
Yeah.
The last James Bond was that was Spectre.
Spectre? Yeah, was it Spectre the last one? I think it was, wasn't it? Yeah. With
That was the last one I
Christoph
watched.
Waltz.
So I'll need to give No Time to Die. That's the famous. No Time to Die is the famous one where, like, Daniel Craig was like, nah, I'm not. I don't want to play James Bond anymore.
Yeah.
Oh, how about some money? Oh, okay, I will now.
I'll do it for some silver crossing my palms and all that.
That's
Indeed,
it.
yeah.
Some silver and some gold.
Yeah.
What are we? Are we living in the golden age of piracy all of a sudden?
Cross my palms with doubloons, he swabs. Yes. There you go.
So there we go. Yeah, unfortunately we're not big movie buffs, so hopefully there were some interesting ideas there for that and games.
Indeed. So the second question from TK kind of follows on from that. It's kind of similar. It's basically the opposite end of the spectrum. Which movie and game you regret having watched or played, if any, why? So again, we'll sort of focus mainly on games, but you never know, there might be certain movies that immediately spring to mind. But in terms of games that I regret having played, I mean, again, I always kind of come back to it, but Outlast, just because I was so underwhelmed by it.
Yes. Yeah, it's disappointing that.
Yeah, so that would be for me. And in terms of just why, like I say, it was one of those games that was really hyped up as being really terrifying, and I didn't think it was objectively a bad game, but I just didn't really see what people thought was so great about it, and I just sort of came away sort of, like I say, very underwhelmed. I just thought it was kind of very sort of cliche splatterpunk type horror, very torture porn-esque. Yeah.
There was a lot of that. Yeah.
Which like I say, I'm not saying that's objectively a bad thing. At the end of the day, people have different tastes, and no one sort of genre is necessarily better than any other. But I think having played a fair few horror games, it's just that matter of I've learnt over time what I personally find really most effective in a horror game for me, and Outlast just didn't really tick the right boxes, or at least not enough of them. So there you go. Yeah, that was probably the game that I sort of regret playing. And I do still get occasional calls, oh, you should try like the Whistleblower DLC, or maybe you should try Outlast 2. But because of my experience with the first one, I'm always a bit sort of undecided. I'm like, should I, shouldn't I? I don't really know. And as a result, I don't really do it.
I think there's different elements to the second game.
Yeah.
I think it goes in a slightly different direction.
Yeah.
I've not heard too much about it, but I've heard that there might be elements where it goes in a slightly different direction.
Yeah, I've heard that apparently Outlast 2, the majority of the gameplay is basically very similar to what Outlast 1 was, but there are these like sections in it which are more like psychological horror rather than like torture porn physical horror. And
so a bit like Layers of Fear.
A bit like that. But apparently that's not the majority of the game. The majority of the game is still very similar to Outlast 1, and that's what kind of is just making me a bit undecided about whether to do it. Because the thing is, if the majority of Outlast 2 was more like the psychological stuff, at least from what I've seen of it, I probably would be more interested in actually giving it a whirl. But yeah, because like I've seen just like screenshots and very short clips, like the sections in Outlast 2 where it's, I think, kind of like you're in like a school environment, and rather than having like enemies who are like chasing you around constantly, it's more like spooky shit happening, things like that. And so it looks more psychological, and it looks more creepy and eerie. And if the majority of the game was that, like I say, I would probably actually be prepared to give it a whirl.
Yeah,
but it's not, as far as I'm aware, that's not the majority of the game. Those are only like small sequences that take part at various times. The majority of the game, like I say, is just kind of more of your standard Outlast 1 kind of fare. So yeah, that's why I haven't really.
What about Return to Castle Wolfenstein?
Oh, Return to Castle Wolfenstein. That game, do I regret playing Return to Castle Wolfenstein?
Yeah,
oh my goodness. Absolutely, it's dominating my channel, Phil. Nah, I love RTCW. Indeed.
The game that I regret is, I would probably say, Shadow of the Tomb Raider.
Really?
Is that one? Yeah, I didn't enjoy it really as much as I thought I was going to. I played Rise of the Tomb Raider, which is the second one, and I enjoyed that. But Shadow of the Tomb Raider was just a bit dull for me, and I didn't quite think it didn't have quite a big effect on me.
Yeah.
And the concepts and the gameplay and everything. I wasn't really finding it that enjoyable.
So the gameplay just didn't really grab you then?
No, and the storyline was a bit naff, to be honest, in my opinion.
Yeah. Always a shame when that happens.
Yeah, so that would be the game for me that I do regret. And of course, Grand Theft Auto 5, horribly regret that now.
Nah, you don't regret that. Nah. Indeed. So there you go. That's games. Again, movies. Any that I regret watching. Again, not a big movie person, so I'm going to have to really rack my brains here for anything that I just wasn't.
Yeah, I'm just trying to think.
I can think of ones where I can think of movies where I've like started watching them, but eventually I've just sort of turned them off because I just found them kind of dull and just didn't really get me. There's one I remember. It was like a comedy film. I think it was called The Men Who Stare at Goats. I think.
Right. Okay.
I can't remember. I think it's about. So I think it's about like a journalist who's investigating apparently like a CIA mind control research project or something. I can't really remember too well, but I just remember it being a bit slow. I don't know, I found it a bit slow, and I just stopped watching after a while because I was just like, And also, like, I can't remember, but I think it was advertised as being like a comedy, but I didn't really find it funny. I just thought, right, yeah. It's like it's not that I disliked it. I was very indifferent towards it, to put it that way. And I was just like,
I'm just trying to think movies for me. I can't. I'm struggling here a bit.
Yeah.
Because I just don't watch. Is there any movie or film that I watched that I regret? I'm just trying to think of the cinema as well.
Yeah. You know, add on to that, it doesn't have to be movies that you've watched all the way through. Like I say, it could be a movie that you started watching, but you just never finished it because it just didn't really grab you.
Yeah, that's a fair point as well.
Yeah. Like I say, it doesn't necessarily have to be something that you just disliked. It's just something maybe that you found you were very indifferent to.
Oh, I know one.
Yeah?
Yeah, no, I've got one.
Go on.
The Assassin's Creed movie.
Oh, yes, of course, yeah.
That didn't because obviously we went to see it in the cinema.
We did.
It was very disappointing, that.
Yeah.
And I do regret it because unfortunately it had so much more of the modern section compared to the past.
Yeah.
And I thought that's the whole thing about Assassin's Creed is the past elements.
Yeah, I feel like with that Assassin's Creed movie, they kind of missed what really the whole point of Assassin's Creed is, which is the majority of the adventure takes place in the historical time period. It's about exploring that time period and all that. Yeah,
which was the Spanish Inquisition.
Yeah,
with regards to the film.
Indeed.
But there was a lot more modern section to it, and it just it really wasn't appealing, and there wasn't really a huge amount of the historical section.
Yeah,
there should have been a lot more of that because that's the whole point of the Assassin's Creed games.
Yeah, indeed. It's always like the main setting of them. So yeah, I feel like maybe the producers there just kind of missed what really Assassin's Creed is, kind of. Yeah,
which is a bit weird because they did it in conjunction with Ubisoft, so surely Ubisoft would have gone, oh, this isn't really our image.
Well, they say in conjunction with Ubisoft, but to be honest, what it probably means is Ubisoft just gave them the licensing rights to the franchise to be able to produce that movie, and maybe just gave a couple of bits of direction, but then probably the movie directors probably really took the lead, and that's the decision that they made to focus a lot on the modern section.
But then I suppose that's the thing with movies based off video games, they aren't always the best.
Indeed.
There's a few out there, there's a few outliers which are really good, but that Assassin's Creed movie really wasn't good. I remember it was because we went with my mum and my sister as well. I don't know why they came, to be honest. I didn't think they'd be that interested in Assassin's Creed, but there you go.
I think they probably just were interested in like having a night out, with friends and family and all that, go down to the cinema and all that, There's always something good when you go to the cinema and like a big group of friends or family or whatever. And,
that's always good. But the film wasn't. Yeah. I think when we both left the cinema, we were both like, that wasn't really that good.
It wasn't great. Yeah, indeed. So that answers that question, TK. So on to TK's final of their three questions. Has a game ever had you crying / feeling extremely emotionally touched, or just touched? If any, why? I don't know about crying.
Wow.
I wouldn't say there's ever a game that's made me cry, but certainly are games that have made me come away feeling quite emotionally impacted upon. And I can probably name a few off the top of my head. Probably the first game that ever made me ever had an emotional impact on me probably was Beyond Good and Evil. The scene where the lighthouse gets destroyed and then you go in and the kids have been taken.
You mentioned that in your class of 2003 video.
Because the thing is, up until that point of the game, you think that Beyond Good and Evil is just like a fairly sort of cartoony sort of game, with very stylized characters. But then that happens and it's like, oh shit, this just got very serious and very heavy all of a sudden. So that moment certainly had me quite sort of shocked when I first played it as a teenager. Other games that had an emotional impact, Probably some of the Danganronpa games when you get very attached to certain characters and then they die, and you're like, oh shit,
God,
yeah,
yeah.
Yeah, I won't name particular characters there because I know, Phil, you're behind on my Danganronpa stuff, so in case you ever decide to go back and watch the remainder of them, I won't.
I'm going to have to go back because I just there was a moment where I stopped and then I got so busy.
Yeah.
It was right in the second one.
Yeah.
So I think I have to start from the beginning there.
Yeah, it's probably best. Yeah, start from the beginning of the second one. Another game that I can definitely think of which had an emotional impact on me, Death Stranding. Certainly towards the end, once the whole plot starts to come together. And you learn more and more about the characters and the relationships between them. That was really quite an emotional thing. Also, I think what made it extra emotional in Death Stranding is that it has such a great soundtrack, particularly BB's theme. Really iconic piece of music.
There was some very nice music in there. Yeah, I'd say as well.
I think BB's theme though is probably my favourite track from Death Stranding, just because it's it's quite it's a good tune in itself, but also it's quite an emotional tune as well. So Death Stranding, I would say, probably also had quite an emotional impact on me. So that's a series of games which definitely touched me emotionally speaking. What about you, Phil? Any that had you feeling emotionally raw after you played them?
I must say, when I was watching, I played a bit myself. Everybody's Gone to the Rapture.
Yeah.
Definitely, that was quite emotional. I did find a few, especially oh my god, the music, the soundtrack to Everybody's Gone to the Rapture is outrageous. I think it's is it Jessica Curry? I think's the one of the
Jessica Curry,
vocals
indeed.
In that. But my word, some of the scenes and moments in there were very emotional.
I can get behind that as well. That was it's amazing just how with the right piece of music. If you get the music so right in a game, you can just get your player feeling exactly what you want them to feel at just the right moment.
It's sort of in relation to the events that we've had, because in a way that was sort of very pandemic-y.
It was,
because this obviously the key concept is this light that they all started taking away. They had no idea what it was. Even the doctors were like, "What's this?" Everyone thought it was some form of flu.
Yeah, that's right.
But it wasn't a form of flu. It was like a horrific, this brain hemorrhage.
Yeah, indeed.
That basically got them, gave them all the nosebleeds, and then eventually took them away.
I think the whole thing is like the light. Spoilers, Everybody's Gone to the Rapture. I mean, I say spoilers, but it's been out several years now, so if you haven't played it, go and play it. But I think the storyline of Everybody's Gone to the Rapture, the light is supposed to be like an alien entity, isn't it? And it's like trying to communicate, but it doesn't realise.
In that way, yes.
Yeah, that it's actually hurting.
That its communication is actually killing.
Yeah, exactly.
There's lots of fan theories for it as well.
Yeah.
But that is also, it's very much like the pandemic that faced COVID-19, and the fact that. The implications of that as well, because we didn't know what it was and how it was acting and what it was finding out. I suppose there would have been doctors and nurses in that stage where they were trying to figure out what it was, and everyone's just thinking, oh, it's some form of flu.
Yeah.
No.
Indeed. Yeah. So there you go. Emotional impacts from certain games. Yeah.
Yes, indeed.
Okay. Right. On to our final couple of commenters, and these are where we get lots of questions now.
Nice.
So we'll get through these ones. So Brandon Peters first. We'll come to.
Oh,
he's
next. Back. Brandon Peters.
He's back. Yeah. So his first. Well, he's got quite a few questions.
How many
has he got? He's got 1, 2. 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, about 9 or so questions. We'll go through all of them. Yeah. So the first one, this is probably actually more aimed at me, this one. Why did you decide to go into the academic field? If you could go back and change it, would you? So why did I decide to go into academia as my job? Partly because I suppose when I was at university I started to really think I quite like the academic environment, and as I learned sort of more and more about the field of obviously doing research, teaching, things like that, I thought, you know what, this sounds like a very interesting career path. I'm going to go down that route and see where it takes me. If I could go back and change it, would I? No, absolutely not. I'd stay where I am, because so far it's been quite interesting. I've met some very interesting people. I've engaged in some very interesting research projects. I've taught on some very interesting courses. It's taken me.
You've always been associated with academia. It's like like when I was in jobs and everything, you were like still going.
Yeah.
Like you went into university, you did your undergraduate, then you decided to do a master's, then you decided to do a postgraduate. At one stage, I was thinking, bloody hell, he's never going to get out of education.
Yeah, I'm going to be the eternal student. So yeah, academia. That just gives a little bit of that there. And the thing is, like,
the furthest I've gone is undergrad university.
Yeah.
Because I thought after that, I've had a bit. I've had enough of education. I want to move on now and actually start looking for a job.
Indeed, because the thing is, like, the academic field, it's not for everybody, and it's perfectly understandable that after you've been doing essays and essay writing and all that for so many years, you just want to get out and do something different.
Exactly. Yeah.
Indeed. So I can fully understand why you'd feel that way. Because the thing is, I think that sort of academic lifestyle only really appeals, I think, to certain people and all that, people like me. Because like academic research projects and essay writing and stuff like that, it's very time consuming, takes a lot of time and effort and things like that. So indeed, it's not for everybody, essentially, is what we're trying to say.
No.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Okay.
So that's the first question that Brandon left.
Okay.
Next one. We're getting a bit political here.
Here we go.
Do you prefer the right or left political parties, or are you two more independent/centrist? Although he quantifies that by saying, although I know things work differently in the UK. I personally would say, I'm kind of a centrist when it comes to politics on a lot of things. I don't really... I'm not really keen on the terms like left and right in politics, just because, I suppose as a very rough guide to sort of understanding where someone sits, politically speaking, they're useful.
It sort of subdivides them, doesn't it, into various different political parties.
Yeah.
But there's some people who are like vehemently in their own parties and have a go at other people in other ones, and you're like, get over yourself.
Yeah.
My goodness me.
I've never been.
You don't have to be, nasty towards other people about it.
I'm always. I'm always very wary of like political tribalism, that kind of thing, where people just like feel, they sort of commit themselves very strongly to a particular perspective and then feel like, I'm going to, make this part of myself, my identity, I'm going to defend it to the death, no matter what. Because, the thing is, like, it's funny because as I've got older, I certainly think that when it comes to like economic issues, here's the thing, I am very sort of like, overall kind of free market kind of capitalist and all that, but when it comes to things like social issues, or like the need for obviously like social security, social safety nets, things like that, people would probably say I can be a bit more left-wing on that sort of thing, because I do believe that yes, you need things like national health care, national social security, things like that. So again, like, that's why I say I'm kind of in the centre, because when it comes to a whole different range of issues, sometimes I gravitate in different directions, but even then, like, not that far.
US, haven't you?
Yeah.
You really do, with their healthcare system.
Yeah.
Oh my god, it's horrendous. Like they have this, obviously the health bankruptcy, that if they become ill, they just ignore it. They don't go to a doctor because they can get huge medical bills just walking into an emergency room, and they come out with a bill of like $6,000.
Indeed, it's just eye-watering, and I think the US does need to seriously look at actually reforming its healthcare sector, just to because it's like
our
it's
NHS
just,
is fantastic.
Yeah.
Oh, unbelievable. They need a massive kiss on the face, and especially since the crisis we had, they need unbelievable amounts of huge soaring pay rises.
Indeed. So it's just a bit of us politically speaking, so like I say, fairly centrist.
Actually, I will say I do prefer the Monster Raving Loony Party.
The Monster Raving
Lord
Loony
Buckethead
Party
is all for me.
Buckethead. Oh yeah, remember that guy?
Lord Buckethead.
Indeed, yes. So Brandon's next question, still sticking with the political theme on this one. This is more of an American one. This is actually. What do you think of the Supreme Court's decision on abortion, as far as giving it into the states and not making it a federal law? So the whole revoking of Roe versus Wade and all that. We're getting some teeth into some really big issues here.
Ooh.
So
abortion. It's one of the big topics, isn't it?
So thing about me to understand kind of up front is I am quite pro-abortion, I am quite pro-choice. I think that ultimately, if you are the pregnant woman, then you, above all else, should be the person who ultimately has probably the biggest decision on that. That at least is my perspective.
I mean, you've got this other human, I suppose, living inside of you. But if you don't feel you have the necessities to give it life and nourishment, then sometimes there's not really much you can do to do. Especially if you get pregnant by a horrible person who's let's say
like rape, basically. Indeed.
That's really horrendous.
That's why I say, the thing about abortion is obviously it's a very tricky issue, and there's no kind of real easy answer to it. So at the end of the day, you just have to sort of think about who do you sort of prioritise? Do you prioritise that unborn fetus, or do you say no? Ultimately, at the end of the day, it should be the pregnant woman's decision.
Some people do say as well, are they really a human when they're in the embryo stage?
That's true.
The embryonic stage. Are
The thing
they
is,
really a human at that stage? If you view not, then it might be fine to just get rid of it. It might come to the point where they actually turns into the human. That you think at that stage, maybe it is a bit unwise to sort of kill them off.
The thing is, like, biologically speaking, there is kind of like a point at which the fetus does start to display brain activity, and you can say that fetus is conscious and therefore is a person. And at that point, most states, I think most countries say there is like a cut-off point after which you can't get an abortion. But prior to that moment of like brain activity, things like that, is that fetus truly sort of alive in the sort of true sense of the word? So it's that kind of like biological question. But there's a lot of issues that obviously there's a lot of factors that go into the decision to have an abortion. But like I say, I personally am pro-choice on the matter. I would say leave it to the pregnant woman to really make that decision with the best advice of her doctors and the medical personnel around her.
I'm with you on that. I'm definitely the pro-choice on that one.
Indeed.
And I think what was if the baby inside is starting to hurt? As well.
If the mother's health is at risk in some way, then maybe the best thing there is to do what is best for the mother's health, to put it that way.
As well, absolutely,
Indeed. So that's my position on that. I can understand why maybe people would feel squeamish around it, because at the end of the day, it is a very difficult issue. So, I'm not going to sit here and, have a go at people who are pro-life. But at the end of the day, I will say I am pro-choice, and I do believe that it is the woman's right to basically make that choice.
Especially when they're growing them inside their body.
So in terms of obviously the Supreme Court's decision to reverse Roe versus Wade, I would say I personally think that that's a mistake. They shouldn't have done that, because I think that is going to lead to a curtailing of abortion rights in the US, which I think is probably a step backwards, really, rather than progress. So that's just my thoughts on that one.
Absolutely.
So Brandon's next question. If you could make a Wolfenstein game, what would you do? So this kind of follows on actually a bit from that what we were talking about before about yes, there should be a Wolfenstein 3. So Phil, if there's going to be a Wolfenstein 3, what sort of things would you like to see in such a game?
Well, I don't really think it would be worth going any more forward in time. Because I know that the Young Blood went to the sort of 80s. Didn't he? Went into the 1980s, where obviously it took his two daughters. So I think it should probably go back a bit. And we can see just maybe some events before, or maybe some events that led up to the bit. Where's that time skip when he was in a coma between 1946 to 1960. The sort of period there. Because that was the big period where in this alternate universe, that's when the Nazis completely took over. So maybe see, in what way, how did it take over? What happened there?
Yeah, that's an interesting thought. So there's that actually as a possibility. You could see, filling in some of those blanks.
Obviously, he wouldn't be able to play as Blazkowicz, because obviously he's in the coma. So maybe play as someone else in the Resistance.
That could be an idea actually for like a Wolfenstein spin-off kind of game, kind of like Youngblood and Cyberpilot were. Maybe something for Machine Games to consider.
Maybe develop the character of. Do you remember in New Order, Bobby Braun?
Oh, Bobby Braun.
You don't get to see much. You don't get to see much of him, because he seemed very reserved and very sort of originally nasty towards you. But the reason is because I think he lost his wife.
Yeah, indeed.
And then obviously he killed himself when he decided to blow up the.
Nautica. So yeah, that could be. Was it Bobby Braun or was it Bobby Bram? What was his name? I've forgotten.
Bobby Braun, I think.
Braun.
Bobby Braun. Yeah.
Yeah. Indeed. God, I should probably play the New Order again because it was such a good game. And maybe I should record myself doing it and put it on the channel. Who knows? But yeah. So there's that idea. Another idea I thought was have a continuation of where the new Colossus left off, because we never actually get to see the actual revolution in America. We just see it started.
Yes,
yeah. And that's the thing. Like, if you were to continue that, you could also flesh out some of the characters that the new Colossus introduced, like Horton and characters like that, and his little crew, like Paris Jack and all those.
Yes, absolutely. That's fantastic.
Yeah,
and
indeed.
Who would be the next enemy? Because we basically Death's Head's gone, Frau Engel's gone.
Indeed, you'd have to think of one, wouldn't you? Plus, the thing is, like, obviously in Wolfenstein 2: The New Colossus, there was also the thing with the artifact that was given to Set Roth. Do you remember that? But that was never actually explained. Which I feel like,
yeah. Which he got really annoyed and angry about, but we never got an explanation of it, what it was and what it was doing.
I wonder if Machine Games are sort of setting that up as possibly going to be like a key storyline component for any future Wolfenstein installment, perhaps. So I think probably if Machine Games do Wolfenstein 3, I think logically the next step would be to just continue on from where the new Colossus left off, and I would be all for that personally.
Yeah, absolutely. I'd like to see. Those are some ideas that we've got there. Yeah. I'd like to see that.
And of course, keep on the usual sort of dual wielding, crazy gunplay and all that with fantastical weapons, because that of course is what we love.
That's always fun.
Wolfenstein 4.
Yeah. And keep with the intel. I like reading the bits of the lore and everything.
Yeah.
Even if it's just something silly as like a superior reprimanding one of his minions. Yeah, that's always funny. Just see things like that.
Indeed, yeah. Who knows? Maybe actually the big boss of Wolfenstein 3 would be the one big top Nazi who we did see in the new Colossus, who we did have the option to kill, though it gives you an immediate game over. Do you remember which one I'm talking about, Phil?
Who was that? Who that could have been? Who was that?
Guy whose name begins with A, surname begins with H.
And he was a right old nasty fart.
Indeed, that guy.
He was a vegetarian, so there you go. That all makes up for it.
That redeems everything, doesn't it?
That redeems everything.
Oh, dear me, yeah. Who knows? Maybe he would be the big boss. Who knows? But yeah.
God, that would be funny.
Yeah, because then you could have your callback to Wolfenstein 3D with Hitler in a mecha suit and all that.
Oh God, yeah. Do you remember that?
Indeed. Yes. Eva, auf Wiedersehen.
Oh God, yeah, that was it. That was his last line. Wasn't
it was. Yeah. Indeed. So there you go. Wolfenstein. What we'd like to see potentially. Brandon's next question. Do you think humanity will ever become a Type 1 civilization? I actually had to Google what that is before recording.
I'm not 100% sure what that is.
It's basically a reference to the Kardashev scale. It's like classifications for civilizations based on how much energy they can harness. I think to be a Type 1 civilization, it's like you have to be able to harness all the energy that reaches your planet from your home star. Something like that. So, it's like a measure of how big and advanced your civilization basically is. Could humanity ever become a Type 1?
So based off the energy off our sun?
Yeah, at least all the energy from our sun that actually reaches the Earth. Because I think Type 2 is all the energy that the sun actually puts out, including that which doesn't actually reach the Earth.
Well, I mean, people make use of the energy from the sun, don't they?
Yeah, they do already.
Obviously, a lot more people are adapting things like solar panels and various different things, and which is fantastic use of energy, and all the various different other things. The renewable energy sources, geothermal, hydro.
Indeed, yeah. So I think I would tentatively say humanity could one day be a Type 1 civilization, provided we don't kill ourselves before we get there. I mean, it could potentially happen. It just requires continual research and investment in renewables and things like solar energy, in ways of harnessing the energy of our planet.
We've got to get the energy from somewhere to get it, and obviously you've heard in the news recently, oh good God, the energy, the Ofgem have allowed an 80% increase in energy prices.
That's the problem, I think.
Why are you fucking us around like this?
Problem with our country is, I think, for many decades, there's been continual sort of underinvestment in really actually improving our energy system and just developing secure, long-term, reliable sources that can eventually replace things like coal and gas and oil. Because the thing is, like, I feel like here in the UK we tend to flip-flop a lot on things like nuclear energy. Like, we sort of say we need nuclear energy, but then we kind of flip-flop around on actually developing it. And then, thing is, like, we're continuing obviously trying to pour research and investment into things like solar, wind, renewables, things like that. But obviously, they're going to take time to really perfect. I mean, they're getting there. They are advancing, don't get me wrong.
Yes, they are, because we've got a lot more things with solar panels, things like that, wind farms, which are trying to make use of this energy.
Indeed.
And it will be more beneficial for the environment for us to use this type of energy rather than coal and nuclear and things like that.
Yeah, indeed. But yeah, I think like nuclear, it's just one of those things which is going to be part of any like solution to our energy needs. Not necessarily in the long term, but certainly in sort of like the shorter to medium term as like a stopgap until renewables really get to a point where they can reliably 100% take over.
We do have to be very careful. Chernobyl, Fukushima.
Yes. Indeed, yeah.
Chernobyl in 1986 and Fukushima in 2011.
Yeah.
Horrible nuclear disasters.
Yeah. But the thing is, with the right safety systems, nuclear can be a solution. And things like you have to remember, I think like Chernobyl and Fukushima very much were exacerbated by other factors which we can sort of avoid, like in Chernobyl's case, just sheer incompetence on the part of the people running it, and in Fukushima's case, obviously that was located in a part of the world that is very prone to earthquakes. So
you've got to be careful. But
indeed.
There's some interesting. God, Brandon Peters coming up with the interesting questions. You really are.
Indeed.
And he's been in the past Q&As as well. And I think the past Q&A that he was in, he gave us some interesting questions as well.
Absolutely.
So thank you, I appreciate it.
Indeed. His next question: how did the two of us actually meet? So a bit more of a personal.
Never you mind, you cheeky guy. you nosy Parker.
Deary me. There we go. So, Phil, do you want to regale us with that tale, or should we embellish it with a few interesting details to make it grounder than it actually was?
We flew a spaceship together and met on the moon, and then we shook hands with each other and went, "Do you know what? I think we should be good friends." And you were like, "Oh, that seems a really good idea."
Indeed,
but
yes.
Once we get back to Earth, we'll have a really good friendship. And we're like, okay, there you go.
That was back in mine and Phil's Space Cadet days when we were saving the Earth from evil robots from outer space. As you do.
Real robot overlords.
Yes, indeed.
No, really, the real story was it was the good old primary school.
Yeah.
That was it. We went to the same primary school, and we met each other when we were about 8 years. I think I was 8 years old and you were 9.
No, it was way before that. We were like 4 or 5, weren't we? It was
No, we certainly weren't that. It was about 7 or 8.
Oh man,
yeah.
Wow. Well, I seem to have it in my head as being much earlier than that. Irrespective, we have been friends for a long time.
It'd be like reception then.
Yeah. Maybe.
Maybe 4 or 5 is when you're in reception. Yeah, that's way too early. It was about 7 or 8, I would say.
Okay, yeah. Well, regardless, a long time, basically, primary school.
Yeah, a long time. It was just in primary school when we were just in the playground and just milling around. I think I walked over to you and just had a chat or something.
Yeah, something like that. Which is probably one of those ways where you get talking and then it just sort of goes from there. Long-lasting friendship. We're here. So many years.
We went to different
now.
secondary schools, but we were in the same primary school. We just chat and got on, and then
the rest is history. There you go. Indeed, that's how the two of us met. Brandon's next question, Phil: if you won the lottery, what would you do?
It's one of those one of those default questions, isn't it?
Indeed.
One of the big questions. What would you do if you won the lottery?
Yeah.
Well, I had a set plan for when I win. If I ever did win the lottery. Oh, look at me being positive there when I win the lottery.
Yeah.
No, a set plan for if I win the lottery. The first things I would do would be I would actually, instead of giving to charity, I would do something where I either flew out or go to the poor parts of the world and actually get some houses and some schools and things built.
To do it direct,
Sometimes, do it direct. Sometimes you don't know where things go with charities.
Yeah.
So I would do that. I would go out to these poor places, and I would have things built for them: schools, houses, things like that, infrastructure, pipelines, things all like that. And I'd get that done first.
Yeah.
I would do my selfless act first.
Yeah.
So I'd get that done and do that for them. That's what I'd want to do first, and I'd go and fly out.
Yeah.
Then once I'd done that and everything was nice, I would begin my self, and then I'd also give quite a bit of money to my parents and my and family.
And
then once I'd done that, selfless will lead into selfish. I would get things like, I'll get myself a mansion. I would definitely get myself a mansion, get myself a nice car, and use the money to maybe pursue some various different hobbies as well, and maybe get involved in various different things as well.
Indeed.
Maybe with my lottery winnings.
Yeah, I mean, certainly, yeah. I mean, for me, it's probably quite similar. I don't know what order I do this in, but I definitely would want to, do something good with some of that money. So, like I say, something charity or, something more altruistic. But yeah, like I say, I'd spend some of that money on somewhere good to live. If I had an absolute mountain
Lots of nice
money,
holidays.
I'd get myself a super yacht. Indeed.
That's it.
Yeah, there you go. So,
the super yacht, and then go down to, is it Monaco? That's it.
Monaco, something. Yeah.
Monte Carlo.
The Mediterranean.
That's where the big super yachts are.
Yes, indeed.
Monte Carlo.
Monte Carlo. Yes.
That's what I would do. The lottery winning. Absolutely.
Absolutely. Yeah. Next question from Brandon. Here's an interesting one. What do you think of Rule 34, Phil? What's your take on Rule 34?
Which is, of course, if it exists, there is porn of it.
Yes. Well,
if it exists on the internet, there is porn of it. Yeah.
I mean, personally, I say, at the end of the day, I'm non-judgmental. If you're not hurting anybody, then you just do you. If you want to look at porn, go ahead. It's your life.
Wait a minute there. Not just with regards to hurting someone. I mean, it's good to have that thing of not hurting, but let's keep in mind what we don't want is like underage.
Oh yeah, true. Well, yeah, either. I think that falls under similar kind of. Not hurting anybody. Obviously, don't just. Well, okay, I meant what I said. Don't just do anything. As long as you're not doing anything illegal and you're not hurting anybody.
Illegal. But if you want to, if you have Rule 34 and a various different, everyone's got like different kinds of fetishes.
Yeah.
And if you feel that's good, then that's fine. But obviously, nothing criminal or anything like that.
Yeah.
That's just horrendous. We don't want to.
Yeah.
I know there's things like furries and all sorts of things like that you can like what you like with regards to that.
Yeah. We're non-judgmental here, unless you're doing something illegal or hurting someone against their will or whatever.
God, yes, we don't want any of that. But I know there's all sorts of funny things. We're all sorts of a load of video game characters.
Yeah,
there's a famous Pokemon debate with that Pokemon Gardevoir. Which can be male as well. But loads of people obviously draw. Like these Gardevoirs with like huge tits and everything, but they can, like I said, they can be male. So, but it does look a very feminine Pokemon. That's why they're there. But there's all sorts of other things. Well, there's like Sonic.
Sonic fan fiction.
There's all sorts of things. But if you want to have porn of it, that's fine.
Yeah.
The internet is a big porn haven.
Yeah. Indeed. I know there was that episode I did, the X-rated ethical question, not too long ago, which does raise obviously that question about if you're dealing with porn which uses likenesses of real people. If you have the express written consent of that person to do that, then if that consent's been obtained through free, there hasn't been any coercion, no manipulation of any kind, then I suppose that's fine. But again, it's
I will also say you have express consent from me to make porn of me. Andrew's now going to flash a picture of me on the screen. There you go, use that.
Yes. I'll see if I can remember. I'll find a funny picture online of like a really big walrus or something, and I'll flash it up at that point and say that's Phil. Yes. Indeed.
Then you can have your Rule 34 of it.
Rule 34, Phil Walrus. There you go. Indeed. You heard it here, ladies and gentlemen. It's
Boom,
here.
shakala.
It's on the internet forever. Yes, indeed. So there's that there. But yeah, God, when you mentioned Sonic a moment ago, my first thought was of a compilation of Game Grumps clips where they read raunchy Sonic fan fiction, and some of it is hilarious in how badly it's written. Yeah, indeed. indeed. It's basically like Sonic X Princess Peach, Sonic X Princess Rosalina, Sonic X Zelda. It's just all the Nintendo characters.
I think you've got to say on that, on various Sonic-related stuff with Game Grumps, yeah.
Indeed, yes.
So that's interesting.
Indeed, absolutely. Okay. And now for Brandon's final question.
Final question from Brandon. Okay, Brandon, what have you got to say is your final question?
If you could make an H.G. Wells video game, what would you do? Or more generally, what do you think of making other video games based on classic books, e.g. Edgar Allan Poe, Mark Twain and others, etc.? I'm all for it. If you, want to... Yeah.
There's, funnily enough, there is a So You're Being Hunted episode on H.G. Wells that you've done.
Indeed.
And the thing of adapting his things into games.
There is actually, believe it or not, a War of the Worlds game in development at the moment. You can find it on Steam.
Right now? Okay, that would be intriguing, wouldn't it?
So it's there, and actually it looks like it's very heavily inspired by the 2005 movie adaptation. The one with Tom Cruise. He's obviously not following those characters, but the design of like the Martian tripods and all that looks very much like how they were.
That's it. The famous. There's also obviously H.P. Lovecraft has got some of his games. Obviously, there's the Dark Corners of the Earth, Call of Cthulhu. There's this latest one, the 2018 one. Which is more like the tabletop one. So H.P. Lovecraft's had a few games already.
Yeah.
I'm just thinking what other author. Edgar Allan Poe would be intriguing.
Yeah, because he's done a lot of like macabre sort of like macabre kind of psychological horror stuff and all that, which would probably lend itself quite well to like short horror games. That would probably lend itself quite nicely to that. So yeah, that could be interesting. To see
what other major authors would. Can you imagine a game based off William Shakespeare?
Shakespeare, oh my god!
Yeah, that would be. I don't think there's anyone's made any games.
Yeah.
Like that.
Could you imagine adapting
plays or
adapting Shakespeare into like visual novels or something? Macbeth,
oh my God,
the visual novel.
Well,
this is everything. Before me. Yes.
I mean, there's one bloody visual novel dating game which is based off bloody pigeons.
Pigeons, yeah.
So
a total
boyfriend. Yeah. Oh Jesus Christ! And there's also that one Dream Daddy.
Oh yeah.
God, wait, date like dads. Oh, Jesus Christ! There's some weird concepts.
There are some weird and wonderful and wacky concepts out there. But yeah, indeed. God, I'm on that subject now.
Clive Cussler, imagine
Clive
that.
Cussler.
Or Bill Bryson. Well, I suppose Bill Bryson. If you got the Bill Bryson, it'd be like a travel game.
Yeah, it'd probably be like an edutainment
Maybe
thing.
like you know what you could do? That would be interesting. Like a Dorling Kindersley educational game, but with Bill Bryson type things where you go travelling. Yeah, that would fit. That would fit in sort of Dorling Kindersley mantra because obviously their games are very educational.
Yeah.
So you combine that with Bill Bryson's travel sort books, and you can get a bit of because he's obviously the thing about Bill Bryson compared to other travel books. Some travel things can be like, all right, it's very educational, but it can be a little boring. But Bill Bryson instills humour into his travel books, which is really good as well.
Yeah. I think we sort of drifted a bit away there from classic books, but hey, we're on that subject of literature, so fuck it. We'll bring in whatever author we want to. Just think any other like classical literature that would lend itself quite nicely to like a video game medium. There's another author actually. Of Mice and Men, John Steinbeck. There's actually an author I can think of, William Hope Hodgson, who wrote some sort of like, well, they're basically like early 20th century kind of horror stories, which probably would lend themselves quite well to video game medium. So, for example, William Hope Hodgson's The Nightland, which is about a character who goes on like a strange sort of journey through this like post-apocalyptic Earth. That would probably lend itself to a video game format, where there's like horrible monsters of the night, things like that. What other games did Hope Hodgson do? The Ghost Pirate? No, not that one actually. What was it called? The Boats of the Glen Carrig, about a shipwreck on a strange island. A bunch of characters who like get shipwrecked on a strange island, and there's basically like strange like monsters and things like that on the island. So that would probably lend itself to like a survival horror kind of thing. So yeah, because again it's like
there's all sorts really
18th century setting, so it'd be like survival horror with 18th century technology and techniques and all that, which would probably be quite good. So there's some ideas.
There are some ideas that we've hoped to throw your way, Brandon Peters.
Indeed, yes. So thanks for all those questions there. They're very interesting ones. And now we come to our final commenter, who has another load of questions. How many are there here? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. 10 questions from this next person, Tynecrine C. So, first question from Tynecrine C. What's our relationship status? Well, single at the moment, eligible bachelor. There we go.
Yeah.
Indeed.
God, I hate saying I'm single.
Yeah.
I really do.
Need to get yourself back on the online dating scene and all that, Phil.
Yeah. Well, obviously, that's one of the reasons. I know that majority of people meet in all sorts of different ways, like clubs, and maybe go to pubs and bars and nightclubs and all that to meet people.
Yeah.
But online dating's a big thing now. But yes, I need to sort myself out.
Yeah.
Get some pictures taken. Get on the online dating scene and get myself a lovely, nice girlfriend.
Lovely lady.
Where our personalities mix with each other well as well.
I've always thought that I'd never probably want to try and pick up a date in a nightclub, just because it sounds like it would be so awkward with like the booming music. You like be barely able to talk to each other. Do you want a drink? What's that? What you say? Do you want a drink?
Do you want a drink?
Drink. Yeah. There's a great little probably clip online of Lewis from the Oxcaster, and I think what's she called, Lydia Squid Gaming, doing like a little sort of silly role play of that kind of scene, and it's hilarious. Of Lewis being really awkward and Lydia just taking him for an absolute ride. It's funny. It's the exact thing about trying to pick up a date in a nightclub and it being really awkward because you can't really hear each other talking. So yeah,
yes, it is, because there's always loud music going on there.
Yeah, indeed. Besides, I'm not really a nightclub kind of person myself.
No.
Yeah, I've been to nightclubs a few times, but not as often as some of my peers have. But yes, so here you go, relationship status, that's that right there. We're going political again for the next one.
Okay.
Opinions on Boris Johnson and who might replace him.
Oh God, yeah, because of course he's obviously he's given up on the prime ministerial job. Yes,
I think my personal opinion is yes, it was about time that he went, because I don't think he was a particularly good prime minister, to be honest. I don't know. I just find sometimes he could be a bit sort of self-serving, and there were times where I just think, like, are you really up to this job? I mean, I tried to be...
there's links to as well, which is funny. There's a very old So You're Being Hunted video where we were talking about Boris Johnson.
Yeah.
And it was the fact that Theresa May had sort of given up at that stage, and we were thinking, who would be next? And I think we both said, what about Boris Johnson? I thought, no, he would be no good as the Prime Minister.
Indeed. I mean, I try to be sort of sympathetic, given that, Boris Johnson hasn't exactly faced some easy circumstances during his time, obviously, like COVID and like
God, it's been one of the worst. But the fact that he's had these potential parties and everything as well has really not put him in good stead.
The parties and all that, and just like it's not just so much the fact that he's been engaged in these parties whilst flouting lockdown rules. It's also the fact that he just like lied about them and was like said, no, I wasn't there, and then later it's emerged, yes, you were there, and things like this. It's just like, dude, why didn't you just come out at the time and just apologise instead of...
you can't go around lying like that.
Instead of just blowing this up and causing it to just blow up into something even bigger. Like, you could have just like said, I apologise for that, I won't do it again. And, there would have been probably, obviously, outrage over it for a couple of weeks, but then eventually in politics, something else would have come up and people would have probably eventually moved on.
Might have died down.
Yeah. But it just feels like he really shot himself in the foot with that. And I just think...
So what's he doing now then?
So I think at the moment he's still in office just until the next leader gets selected, and then he's basically going. So our two contenders at the moment, of course, are Rishi Sunak and Liz Truss. And I'll be brutally honest.
Trying to rip each other apart.
I'll be brutally honest. Neither of them really
they aren't that
grab me. Yeah, they're not. Because the problem with Liz Truss is that she's always just struck me as being very kind of wooden in her personality, and just like not particularly dynamic or inspiring as a leader. And on top of that, like a lot of people basically just say she's kind of Boris 2.0, but without the kind of the bluster and the personality. So it's like, that's why she doesn't really grab me. And Rishi Sunak, on the other hand, maybe from like an economist perspective, maybe has a bit more sense to some of his ideas than Liz Truss does, but still at the same time, he's that kind of character who, beyond that, I don't know, he doesn't really grab me. And it's like, what the heck? Like, this is the choice that we have, or I should say,
can we not bring Winston Churchill back?
Winston Churchill.
Yes. Get Winston Churchill back. Oh, God, we need someone like that. At least he managed to do something decent through World War II.
Yes, indeed. Indeed. Yeah.
Intriguing.
So, Yeah, we're not particularly sold on these candidates, I don't think, are we? No.
Not particularly, no. Not at the moment. We just have to see what goes on, don't we? Because it's still a big battle at the moment.
Yeah, exactly. So that's our thoughts on that one, ladies and gentlemen.
Yep.
Time Crises, next question, future life plans / goals. This is one I think we've already answered before. So probably,
I think we may have done in the past in some past Q&As.
So I think we'll probably keep this one fairly briefish. But for me, future life plan is just continue working well in my job, keep advancing my career. Potentially looking to promotion and all that, and going up the career ladder. But it's just a matter really of keeping myself on kind of that good path, because I'm in a fairly comfortable position at the moment. So it's just thinking about how to kind of keep that and perhaps advance it. That's very much my future life plan at the moment. Indeed.
For me, it's definitely sort of the same sort of way. I'm keeping on with my job. It'd be good to get up that ladder, and be in maybe even higher positions, managerial roles, more executive roles.
Yeah.
They would be really good eventually.
Team leader today, CEO tomorrow, Phil.
that's sort of where you want to get on the rungs of the ladder, isn't it?
Yeah.
To get up there.
Indeed.
And because if you show dedication to your company that you work for, then they should see that and respect that. I know there's some companies out there that don't and are really horrible, but it'd definitely be. The job I'm in now is certainly better than the jobs where I was doing like customer service and things like that. Oh God, that was horrendous. I don't want to think about that now.
Call centre jobs, indeed.
Oh God, it was horrendous.
Yeah,
absolutely vile.
I don't envy you for those jobs, Phil, because everything I've ever heard about working in a call centre has always been pretty negative.
Yeah, it's really, really not good. So yeah, those are sort of live, and then win the lottery.
I always try to be nice. If I ever have to ring up a call centre, I always try to be nice to that person on the other end, no matter how long I have to be on hold for. Yeah. I always try to be nice. Exactly, because you should be, right?
Yeah, that's what you've got to be. It's made me appreciate it more as well, because of the fact that I've worked it as well.
Yeah.
But yeah, I want to do that, and of course win the lottery.
Yeah, that too. Absolutely, yeah. Time Crisis, next question. Cars you drive / what would be your dream cars? That's an either-or question, whichever one you want to answer there. I can definitely. The thing about me is I love my classic cars, things like that. Probably I'd want to have a go at driving a classic car at some point.
A classic car, that's an intriguing one,
Yeah, just trying to think like what type specifically. Maybe like a proper old school Rolls Royce or something.
That would be funny. Yeah, like a Bentley would be nice as well.
Or like one of those like 1930s Duesenberg, like big sort of like old fashioned like mafia style gangster cars. Yeah, really
those
big
look
ones.
really cool, don't they?
They do.
And obviously, and the car you're driving now?
Car I'm driving now is the Hyundai i20. Nice little run around. It's a good little car. Very lovely.
I've got a nice little car actually. I've got a 2019 Seat Leon.
Yeah.
It is fantastic. It's got everything, because I wanted it. There were some key things I wanted when I bought it. One was having rear and front parking sensors.
Yeah, those are always.
I've got those. Those are so good, because I don't have the best spatial awareness skills, so they really, really help.
Yeah.
And an inbuilt entertainment system which has got with a sat nav.
Yeah.
It's got an inbuilt sat nav, which is absolutely fantastic. Sat nav in my car works wonders. I've used it obviously to come down to see you in Swindon.
Yeah.
And it worked so fantasticly well.
Absolutely.
It was utterly good, but that's the car I have. The cars that I would love to drive. Oh my god, I will a bit go down the cliched route. I'd love to drive like Ferraris and Lamborghinis, things like those would be absolutely fantastic. But then like the big Bentley car would be nice,
like a Bentley Mulsanne or something.
Yeah, the Continental.
Yes.
Bentley Continental would be really, really good. But yeah, I would definitely like a Ferrari, Lamborghini, or even the the McLaren. Oh, that looks good. Especially those cars with the gull wing doors.
Oh yeah, indeed.
They'll be cool.
Yeah, there you go. A little bit on cars there, ladies and gentlemen. Vehicles, indeed.
Vehicles.
All right. Okay, Time Crisis' next question actually is one we've technically already answered. So you've been hunted reinvented hopes and what you'd like to see. So we've kind of already answered that one already.
Oh
so,
yeah, we have gone into a bit of depth before on that one.
So don't need to really answer that one at this point. So yeah, I mean, the thing is, like, in the video description I'll put timestamps, or probably in a comment I'll put like timestamps of all the questions, so people can find something they'd be interested in.
What they want to see.
Yeah, exactly.
And our answers.
Indeed. Next song, actually the next two questions, I said next song, next two questions are basically on musical theme, so we'll sort of treat these together. Favourite song ever and favourite band/musician. Yeah. Favourite song, or favourite songs, since there's probably going to be more than one. I mean, I'll start with the musician one first, or like singer or musician or whatever. Obviously, I'm a fan of people like Bobby Darin and Frank Sinatra, people like that. So I know they're not so much musicians, they're singers, but I'm going to sort of expand the question out a bit just to include them. So yeah, because I'm into that kind of easy listening sort of thing. And in terms of the song, I really like Bobby Darin's rendition of Somewhere Beyond the Sea. That's a good one. It's a nice little...
That is a good track.
Yeah, good one there. So that's a good song. But yeah, I'm trying to think any others that I would say are some of my favourites. There will be ones.
I've got sort of...
Yeah, Bobby Darin's rendition of Mac the Knife, I think, is probably the best version of Mac the Knife that I've ever heard. So that one too. There you go. That'll be my answers to those questions. What about you, Phil?
Well, I've got a very eclectic taste in music. The thing is, I like all sorts.
Yeah.
I'll sometimes bounce from like listening to a song from the 1980s to then listening to a song from like the 2000s or the 2010s.
Yeah.
And then sometimes just listen to film score type ones or even video game soundtracks.
Yeah.
I just bounce from the other. So I like a lot of different various styles. I can't really say which particular song, because I bounce from all sorts of different ones.
Yeah.
But I do like 80s, 90s music, 70s, 2000s, 2010s, video game soundtracks, and film. Yeah, so I bounce around like that. So it's really, I have a particular thing, I'm afraid. So it's very difficult for me to answer that.
Yeah.
So
I will say on the video game soundtracks, I will just reiterate BB's theme from Death Stranding. Great piece of music, lovely one. That's a good one. That'll probably actually, I would actually say that's probably one of my favourite video game OSTs from recent years. It's been a real good one. And speaking of like 70s music, there's like a couple of Led Zeppelin songs, for example, that I do quite like The Immigrant Song, When the Levee Breaks, and things like that. Those are good songs. Really good pieces of music.
There's so many good soundtracks in various different, so many good songs and everything.
Yeah.
I really like those. Yeah. Okay.
Indeed, yes. So that's those ones. Next one from Time Crime C. Most liked and most hated person in the world. Ooh. Here we go.
Okay.
Ooh. Right. Okay.
Most liked and hated person.
Okay.
Adolf Hitler.
Adolf Hitler.
Liked person.
You're most liked. Oh God. You heard it here, ladies and gentlemen. Phil likes Hitler.
There we go. You heard it here first.
Yeah.
I don't. Is he, when he's saying most liked or hated? Does it mean living or dead, or just living? Or
it doesn't specify. So
anyone really.
Anyone. Yeah. We're going to say we'll say any person. It could be someone alive or dead, historical figure, or someone who's alive at present. Anybody.
Wow, that is intriguing.
Yeah. I mean, most hated person in the world probably would be someone like Hitler, because, you know, understandably, because it's Hitler. You know, pretty much...
Stalin,
he's pretty much
Mao
universally
Zedong,
hated.
all these people, Pol Pot's.
Indeed. All the dictators of the world who were cruel as hell and all that.
I know,
Indeed. Most liked person in the world, or... tell you what, I'll sort of amend that bit a bit to perhaps say somebody who you find particularly fascinating, whether living or dead. So it could be like somebody who you like to read about, like a historical figure or something.
There's always...
So for me, you know, something actually was quite interesting. Video I was watching recently on YouTube was I think which channel was it by? Was it by Vanity Fair? It might have been by Vanity Fair, but it was presidential historian rates depictions of US presidents in movies, and it was really interesting just like going through some of these movies and like depictions of US presidents throughout history. But it got me sort of thinking about certain US presidents in history who are actually quite fascinating to read about, and there's two in particular who sort of come to mind straight away there for me. One of them would be Ulysses S. Grant, who was a Union general in the American Civil War, but then later became president. And he's quite fascinating because he's sometimes regarded as a president who was quite principled and who some people would say was almost like too good for the role of president, because he was quite noble in a lot of respects, but was kind of undone by corruption scandals around people who were around him. But yeah, so he's quite an interesting historical figure. Not just for things he did whilst he was president, but also for things he did when he was after his presidency, when he did a lot of like foreign policy tours and things like that. And the other US president who I think is quite fascinating is Teddy Roosevelt in the early 20th century.
Oh God, he's done so many things.
Yeah. Again, so like not obviously a perfect human being. He had his flaws, but he also had quite fascinating things that he did. Yeah.
So does every president. Yeah.
Indeed. Yeah. So
a person who I would say actually in the sort of not like category, because I've read so many bad things about him. Thomas Edison.
Okay.
Yeah,
Interesting.
Apparently he stole a lot of patents from other people, people who were basically thrown out of the limelight because they invented it first, but he stole it. There were things where he stole, and apparently he had over 1,000 patents, but some of those weren't quite his.
Yeah. It's true. There's so many like figures like that throughout history who probably took credit for things that really they weren't actually responsible for. So yeah, indeed.
And there was also the guys at Parker Brothers who basically stole the first version of Monopoly from this. I can't remember the name of the woman. Yeah, the name of the woman actually created. Basically, it's called the Landlord's Game.
Yes,
that's what it's really called, the Landlord's Game. They basically took it away from her and then and didn't credit her with it.
Indeed.
And she basically got thrown out of the picture, which is really bad, I think.
Yeah.
Because it's obviously one of the most, I would say it is the most popular board game in the world.
Yeah, absolutely.
Now, what am I thinking on the like side? I must say, things like, because I'm a very big sort of person in the computing sphere, Charles Babbage and Ada Lovelace.
Yeah. Two fascinating figures.
Yeah, because of course, those who aren't too aware, Charles Babbage was basically the inventor of computing systems and the way that computers were made with his differential analytical engine. Yeah. And then Ada Lovelace was essentially the world's first programmer.
Yeah. She was a mathematician and all that. Yeah.
So they're very fascinating people to me.
Indeed, yes. So yeah, that's on people. This next question, we're going a bit political again. What political party do you associate with, if any? God, I don't know.
I've already said this, the Monster Raving Loony Party.
Yeah, there you go. There's Phil's answer. I mean, I wouldn't really say I associate strongly with any particular party, because I don't know, like, I know, like some people again have that like political tribalism where they definitely have like a certain political outlook and they're thus a party that's aligned with that outlook that they really sort of adhere to. I don't know, being kind of like a centrist, I don't really have one. I'll sort of vote for whoever's policies really I think I sort of align most with or agree most with.
And it's good to read the manifestos as well to get an idea of what they're doing, and then you can vote how and as when necessary.
Because the thing is, like, if I'm going to vote, I want to know really what I'm voting for. So I read the manifestos, get kind of a sense of what it is they're actually proposing.
What I don't like is people who judge you based on who you vote for.
Like,
you voted for them, did you? Did you really? Yeah, it's my vote. I can do whatever I fucking well like. Thank you very much.
Stop
indeed. Judging me based on who I vote for.
Yeah, that's one of the reasons why earlier I was saying like I don't like terms like left and right.
It's so very sort of volatile.
Yeah, because it's like I find it very polarising and it's very divisive, and I often find that as terms like left and right, they're very binary. And if you ever say to someone,
0 1 1 1 0 0 1 1.
Yes, that. Yes. If you ever say to someone, usually like if I'm sort of like more left or I'm more right, people tend to sort of immediately kind of make sort of implicit assumptions about you. And I always find that like not everyone does that, but sometimes people do, and it's a bit polarising, and it just leads to people getting a bit more divided. Whereas actually, when you sit down and really talk, you find that you have much more common ground than you first realise. Yeah. So that's always something that is worth kind of just specifying at the moment and all that. And final question from Tynecrine C.
Okay.
Interesting and fairly specific one. Where do you plan to retire? That's something quite far off at the moment.
The Cayman Islands.
The Cayman Islands, Phil.
That's
you can
it.
take
Barbados.
advantage of
That's
those
where
lax tax regimes.
That's it. Barbados, Bahamas, all the places in the Caribbean as well.
Yeah.
I don't know. It's intriguing, isn't it?
Yeah. Just thinking, like, if you could retire anywhere in the world, where would you go? I'd have no idea. But
most people probably would be on that sort of train of thought, in the Caribbean.
Yeah.
Living on the beaches with a pina colada in one hand under the palm trees.
Indeed. Under a sunny beach, under a palm tree, with a drink in one hand and a nice bit of weather. Plunge into the sea and all that.
Yeah.
Off the edge of my super yacht.
I don't know what to do. I mean, you need to find something to fill your time.
Yeah.
Like obviously your parents and my parents. Well, my dad's fully retired. My mum's partly retired, and obviously my dad's got to find ways to entertain himself, and obviously your parents need to find ways to entertain themselves as well.
Yeah.
Because you don't want to have that notion where you've got absolutely nothing to do.
Yeah.
So
I think
people like joining clubs and stuff like that as well.
I've said this before, but it's like one of those things with retirement where, like, in my sort of career field in academia, like, you can retire, but you can still sort of like do kind of bits of work after that, as like I think it's like Professor Emeritus and whatever else. Like, you do technically still sometimes come in to give lectures and things like that, even though you're retired. Because like that's the thing about retirement. A lot of people get that thing where they suddenly find themselves with all the time in the world and they don't know what to do with it.
Yes. Yeah. That's the thing.
And they sort of find themselves soon feeling like they don't really they can't really fill the time, so they end up thinking, actually, I kind of still want to continue working in one way or another, even if just part-time, just for maybe a few hours a week.
And I mean, there are things where you can do, obviously, because you won't need the money, you can do volunteer work.
Indeed, yeah.
Loads of that around, even if it's just, being a receptionist on a desk for something, just helping out.
And I sometimes think that myself, like, if my sort of academic career kind of keeps going and I get to like the age of, I don't know, like 70 or whatever, and I've got to that point where I'm actually retiring, I still probably would want to still keep doing a bit of part-time work just to, keep my brain and keep my body active, things like that.
I'll tell you what you could do when you're retired. You could dedicate yourself full-time to your channel.
Maybe I could. Who knows? Yes.
Oh God, I can imagine you.
70-year-old.
Hello there, viewers and viewers. Here I am with So You've Been Hunted, episode 3450 today.
Today we're playing a new horror game, and hopefully it won't jump scare me too hard, so I don't end up having a heart attack.
Yeah.
Dearie me, yes.
Oh God, can you imagine that? Episode 3400 of So You've Been Hunted. What would you have talked about then?
Oh God.
Just the other day. Oh no, I didn't manage to pee myself today.
Yes, the old age incontinence managed not to strike. Yeah. Oh dear, all these newfangled hoverboards that the kids are using and the jetpacks that they use to get to school.
What technology will be going on then?
Oh, I don't like these new flying cars. Good Lord. Gosh, wow. I don't even want to think about what the world will look like when I'm 70 years old, Phil. Because it'll be very, very different.
Crazy, won't it?
Yeah. Indeed. Well, with that, that's all the questions. Tynecrine C finally just says, congrats on having the longest running Sir You're Being Hunted series on the internet. Well, thank you very much.
We'll probably do. Yeah, you probably do, actually. I don't think anyone will have done a past what you've done.
Indeed.
There might be someone who's done 20 or 40 episodes or something, but yeah, definitely not to your extent.
Yeah, there's two sort of particularly notable figures in the Sir You're Being Hunted gaming world. One of them, of course, is me for my series, which now is friggin' 500 episodes long. And there's also user Corgi Dog on Steam, who I think is the person who has the most hours of Sir You're Being Hunted playtime, like several thousand or whatever.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
Man.
Indeed. I'm pretty sure, is Corgi Dog subscribed to my channel? I'm not actually sure. I think I do have Corgi Dog as a friend on my Steam profile.
So you can talk to each other, yeah.
Indeed, yes. So, Corgi Dog, if you're watching this video, give us a, if you've watched this far, let us know in the comments.
You know what I do now? I do something interesting, because when I eat my tea at night, I usually watch You're So You're Being Hunted.
Yeah.
And I used to just put in an episode tab, but now I've given up and I've opened a random number generator in Google and just put 1 to 499 and just press the button. Bang.
Yeah.
232, right? Let's watch episode 232.
Indeed. Yeah, you can do that. Indeed. Well, it was a good Q&A, that, Phil.
Yeah, thank you, guys. Thank you, everyone, for putting your questions. I really appreciate it. I like doing a Q&A.
Yeah.
Next one, episode 600.
Oh, God.
Here we come.
Well, the thing is, you know, if Surrey Being Hunted Reinvented does come out at some point this year, there might not be a Surrey Being Hunted episode 600 because I might have moved over to Reinvented. Yeah, indeed. So, ladies and gentlemen, hope you enjoyed that. And here's hoping Reinvented Edition comes out in the not too distant future. Yeah. So, we'll wrap up here. Facebook and Twitter links down below, along with the link to my propagandist channel for anyone interested. If you enjoyed, a like's always appreciated. Thank you for joining me for that, Phil.
I've enjoyed it very much. Thanks, mate. I really appreciate it. Yeah. Okay. See you later, guys.
See you later, everybody. Goodbye, all. Get that big combo right there. Oh god, we're under attack. Yeah, I remember this with this level. This friggin' giant robot fish. Yeah, try and shoot you. Shoot the cannon. Oh god, get these on the combo. There we go. Just fire randomly. Okay, it helps in this level, obviously, if you... was there a fish there? Yes, there was. If you keep a power up on this, so where you're getting, you know, all the extra points. I think there's one behind us, isn't there? Nope. Just hitting the thing without meaning to. Okay, go. It's basically one of those jobbies where you just have to friggin' keep shooting.